So, Alex Salmond has started a new court case against the government. And before we get into that, just be a reminder, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you like any particular podcast, make sure you press the thumbs up for me. And if you get any comments, please add them below and join the community. So, what's going on with Alex? Well, quite intriguing. He's launched a new, fresh legal case against the Scottish Government. And this seems to be an ongoing thing. It's been going on for now near 5 years. And it's believed in this case, Alex Salmond is looking for £3 million worth in damages against the Scottish Government. And what it's about, it's the investigation into the harassment claims that were made against him back in 2018. Since then, we've seen criminal trial and the government's investigation into the handling of the affair. So it's been quite a long process, this. Back in 2018, the Scottish Government set up a new procedure for investigating harassment cases against ministers and potentially former ministers. And lo and behold, the first person to get any complaints about him was Alex. Alex Salmond had two women make harassment complaints against him. And as soon as it became public, Alex right away started saying that this whole process was unfair. And what he was basically arguing was the people running the inquiry had already spoken to two women that had complained. And in essence, he was claiming that it was never going to be a fair hearing because the panel had made their decision that he was guilty before the whole due process was in place. While this was going on, the criminal trial started, and Alex was found not guilty in a court of law. It was actually just before lockdown. I think it was the day before lockdown, and he appeared in the court steps, convinced of his innocence and suggesting that this might not be the end of it, and there was parties involved in bias and try to, blacken his name, etc. So the parliamentary inquiry happened, and that sort of took over a lot of boring time during lockdown, and people were in furlough, and it was quite embarrassing for everybody involved. And you might remember Nicola Sturgeon with her numerous I can't remembers. Remember all those horrific scenes that they were asking her 100 questions and couldn't remember this, can't remember that, can't quite remember. It was almost as if she wasn't wanting to give anything away. And I think most people that viewed it at the time had difficulty in believing her, if we're perfectly honest. So the the government investigation, found that the government inquiry, not the criminal case, but the government's internal inquiry with these two ladies' harassment, is found to be conducted improperly. And the Scottish Government had to make 3 apologies. They had to apologise to Alex Salmond. And obviously they had to apologise to the two women who felt that they had been wronged by Alex. They felt they had been abused by Alex. So, but during the actual hearing, investigation into the government process, Alex Salmond was very critical, not only the government, SNP, but also Sturgeon. And he said there was a malicious plot against him. And he said that his successor had misled Parliament, and some stuff that she'd said about it. That was flung out. That suggestion had been flung out, and Sturgeon, surprisingly, was found not guilty of misuse in Parliament. It was breaking the ministerial code, is how they put it. So Alex suggested that he'd accepted the outcome, but there's been many suggestions that he would go back to court. And now he's suing for a word I've never heard before, I'm struggle saying it, is misfeasance. What that basically is, it's a civil law term which allows you to claim for damages, not just for injury, but for damages. And he feels he's lost out due to his treatment by these government officials. Now, his lawyer, Gordon Dangerfield, said that the government officials had acted improperly, in bad faith, and beyond their powers with the intention of injuring Mr. Salmond. He says that they had decided at an early stage of the harassment investigation that he was guilty, and that in trying to pursue it and prove the situation, it just snowballed into a whole range of other problems, specifically aimed at injuring his client. I think there's been suggestions that the legal case against him for rape was due to all of this, and in some way, people within the Scottish Government or SNP had influenced the fact that Alex Salmond was charged through a criminal court. Now, people might think, but Alex Salmond has already won some money from the Scottish Government. That's correct. So Alex Salmond won £500,000 previously. But that wasn't for any injury to him. That was to cover his legal costs during the first judicial review. So he got £500,000 when it was found that the government had carried out this investigation into him incorrectly. The Herald newspaper, they claim that he is looking for £3 million in damages and lost income, and his team say they'd recognised that would be significant. But is it just about the money? I don't actually know if that's the case. I think Alex Salmond's got a bee in his bonnet. I think he feels he's been wronged by the government. He's Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP, and he seems hell bent in getting some sort of revenge on them. And don't get me wrong, I think £3 million is £3 million, but probably cost him a lot of money even if he is successful with this new claim. He's also not happy with who was the permanent secretary at the time, Leslie Evans, who's a top civil servant who had a big role in dealing with the complaints about him in the first place. And she was singled out for criticism in the government inquiry and since lost her job. And Alex Salmond seems to be going after them all. It's as if he's got some unfinished business. And he was frustrated that he couldn't put certain evidence on record which he believes supported his position because of legal barriers. He talks about his submissions being censored throughout the inquiry. Now, going back to court gives you the opportunity to see a lot of things during the procedure. And that might be his driver for doing this. But, regardless, it's going to give the SNP more headaches than they actually need. They don't need to seek money issues just now. They seem every week and day, as I've previously said, combating more scandal. And I don't know how long this will take, but you can bet your bottom dollar when it does hit, it will create even more grief for them. And, as some are suggesting, if Alex is using it as a platform to put out information that he feels he couldn't put out before, it could be opening up a whole new barrel of pain for the already staggering and stammering SNP government. Now, the timescale, I don't know. It could take longer to get into court than anyone would want, and we might find by the time it gets there, the SNP are no longer the government in power in the Scottish Parliament. But regardless of that, if it comes before another Scottish Parliament election, there could be a whole lot of grief coming their way. And this party surely must see that the end is nigh. However, Mr. Salmond's own words, a day of reckoning is coming. for the government. Now, the court will decide, judges will weigh up merits of the arguments, but the people involved are politicians, and there will be a political impact. The outcome, I believe, can show no positives for the SNP. And I think it's ironic that two people who have caused more damage for the independence cause are Alex Salmond and the independence loving Scotsman who started the whole branch forum inquiry. That's a police inquiry looking for the missing £600,000. And I find the irony that both these guys have caused an infinite amount of damage to not only the SNP, but the independence cause that they both hold so dearly. It's always the case, isn't it? Some people's downfall is always self-inflicted. And I'm enjoying this. If you're enjoying the podcasts, please subscribe. Press the thumbs up button when you see something that you particularly like, a particular podcast. Get active in the comments below, join the community. And thank you very much for tuning in yet again.